Hello, welcome to How I Got a First Class Honours at the Australian National University. A quick plug, I'm currently in the process of applying to do my Masters in Psychology in Australia. Fingers crossed. And if I do get into a program, I intend on doing a weekly vlog of what it's like to actually become a psychologist and give you guys practical insight to see what the journey is like and to see if this is the career path for you. So stick around, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you along for the journey. But now let's dive into this week's episode, where I will break down the 5 broad strategies that I used to help me get a first class. First up, I'm going to be talking about designing a system. Then I'm going to be talking about networking. Next, I'll talk about choosing the right supervisor. Then I'm going to talk about your thesis. And finally, I'm going to talk about some practical resources. And there's also timestamps down below, so feel free to skip ahead if there's a section that sounds more interesting to you. And let's get into it. So tip number 1, set your life up for success before you start. I love talking about this. It's one of my favorite areas in psych to do with behaviorism, but it's about creating the right system for you. So your habits and processes that come about more easily because of the environment that you've designed. If you would like a bit more of a guide to this, then I strongly recommend reading Atomic Habits written by James Clear over the summer. You can download a copy for free from Zed Library. But from psychology, we know that our environment plays a major role in shaping our decision making, our productivity, even our health. So we want to design an environment that works for us to promote these things rather than against us. For example, during my honours year, I intentionally moved into a house share with people doing their PhD and their masters. I still had social support, but I also had a lot of time to focus because everyone in the house was always studying. And so one of my systems was establishing a productive environment. So if you are going into honours next year, think about what changes you can make to your environment to help you succeed. My second tip number 2, it's very important, network with students. Honestly, networking in general is one of the best things you can do for your career. In terms of your academic career though, it will help you know what to expect if you can make connections with people that are ahead of you. People that have already done honours can break down for you exactly what to expect, give you examples of their work, and give you more insight about the supervisors and the research projects. And you know what? If you don't know anyone that's ahead of you, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help, or I could point you in the direction of someone else who might be able to. And the other thing I'd say is to network with students that are in your year. Obviously, don't spend time with people that stress you out, but find people that you vibe with because they become your social support and your study bubble during your honours year. For example, I made a really good friend during honours, and her and I would actually prep for exams together and test each other on the different concepts. So I can't stress this enough, making these connections is essential. Tip number 3, be strategic about your supervisor. In my opinion, all of my tips are important, but this one is the most important. Your supervisor plays a major influence during your honours year. If you end up with a supervisor that's not particularly organized or you don't get along with them, this could make your honours year very stressful. The advice that I got given when I was about to go into honours was to network with supervisors over the summer. And this advice was extremely effective. Check out supervisors' academic profiles and see what their research interests are, and then reach out to them via email, introducing yourself and asking if they have time to meet. I also recommend attaching your CV and your transcript so that they have a better idea of what you're like in turn. I applied this strategy and I met with about 10 to 15 supervisors. I wasn't too concerned about matching my area of interest with theirs. I was more focused on finding someone who I thought would be a good personality fit and someone who would be supportive. And during these meetings, I would ask the supervisors questions like, what sort of research projects are you looking to support during honours? What's your style like as a supervisor? How many students have you supervised? And how many hours of contact time are you willing to give each week? And for supervisors that I liked, I would then reach out to students that had also been supervised by them and asked what their experience was like. And at ANU, I knew that technically you can't pick your supervisor for honours, but you can give your preference about who you'd like to work with, and supervisors can do the same. So it goes a long way to build rapport with supervisors as soon as you can, so you're more likely to be matched with someone that you would like to work with. The 4th thing that I want to talk about is what makes a good honours project. I'm going to keep this brief, but honestly, this could be a whole other video. The best advice I ever got in terms of my thesis was to keep it simple. You only have about 8 months to design, run, and then write up your experiment, and that's not a lot of time. So you want to be able to do all of these components really well. You also want to try and come up with your own unique twist on the literature, and your supervisor will help you with this. One of your goals though should be to bring something novel to the table, even if it's very slight. This will help set your project up as a first-class thesis. And the final piece of advice that my supervisor gave to me is that while there is a word limit, there's no limit to the number of figures you use or the words used to describe your figures. And this goes a long way in helping your reader understand your topic and also making your thesis more engaging. And just in case this helps, I'm gonna leave a link down below to a copy of my thesis so you can check it out if you think it would help, of course. And if you do know anybody that is ahead of you and they got a first class honours, I also recommend going to the front office of the psychology building because they have hard copies of these theses submitted from the years before, and they can lend them out to students if you request them. Tip number 5, the final thing that I'm going to talk about is practical resources that will help you during honours. First, I recommend getting a hard copy of the SPSS Survival Manual written by Julie Pallett. It really is a survival guide. I honestly felt like it saved my life with statistics. It just makes stats and SPSS a lot easier to understand, especially when you're still quite new to it. Next, I also recommend looking into software that will automatically update your references and even store your articles. There's lots of things out there like the classic Endnote, Mendeley, and Zoetero. But if you're not already using something like this during your undergrad, it will save you a lot of time during your postgrad, so I recommend looking into it. And then for all the articles that you read during the research of your thesis, even if you don't think you'll use them, I strongly recommend taking notes in an Excel spreadsheet that highlights the basic information to the reference, the key argument, the design of the study, the results, and the future directions. This will help you big time in staying on top of your research for your thesis. And it's also really useful for helping you shape your introduction and your discussion. The final resource that I recommend is Zed Library. If you guys haven't heard of this already, it's gonna change your life. You can download any textbook or popular book for free, and it's legal. It will even let you download a copy of the SPSS manual that I recommended. So absolutely check this out and use Zed Library to your advantage. So these are all of my tips. I really hope that they helped. And the final thing that I'll say, some advice that other people also gave me, is that honours is designed to help you do well. When you think about it, 50% of your grade is your research project, which you spend 8 months working on to get it looking really good. And you know what? If you don't get a first class honours, that's more than okay. There are so many different pathways to becoming a psychologist, and there's also so many different options out there. And all in all, I honestly found my honours year to be my funnest year at the Australian National University. It felt really good to work on something that was my own project and also to work with a small cohort of students. So ultimately, if you're going into honours next year, I'm excited for you. You're gonna have an amazing time. Even though it's challenging, it's gonna be great. I really hope this helped, and I hope I see you around in one of my other videos. Have an amazing week. Talk to you guys later. Bye.